When my wealthy uncle adopted me at 13, I never expected them to return 15 years later. The night was thick with secrets, clinging to the air like fog. The moon hung high and luminous, casting an eerie glow on the decaying mansion that had become my childhood home. It loomed over me, its peeling paint and broken windows whispering tales of the past, tales I had tried to forget. After 15 years of silence, he suddenly appeared, my uncle, resplendent in tailored suits and an aura of mystery that sent shivers down my spine. He had been an enigma then, and now, his return stirred a tempest of confusion within me. Why now? What did he want? The last time I saw him, I was a scared teenager with wide eyes, standing at the threshold of a world I didn't understand. He took me in, promising riches, adventure, and an escape from my broken life. But as quickly as he had appeared, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind only questions and a sense of abandonment that gnawed at my heart. The weight of his return pressed down on my chest. What could possibly bring him back after all these years? Then there were the strange occurrences, the creaking floorboards, the flickering lights, shadows that danced just out of sight. I could have sworn I heard whispers in the hallway, echoes of laughter that felt both familiar and sinister. Did the house remember him? Did it hold his secrets close to its rotting heart? I felt a knot form in my stomach, a tightness that screamed something was off. As night closed in, my mind raced with possibilities. Each darker than the last, I watched him from afar, sipping whiskey with an air of confidence that felt wrong. He chuckled softly at his own private jokes and tossed knowing glances over his shoulder. My skin prickled with unease. Was he here to reclaim me? Or was there something more insidious waiting to unfold? The thought made my heartbeat quicken and my palms sweaty. "What are you up to, Uncle?" I muttered under my breath. "Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just then, a loud crash shattered the tense atmosphere, making my heart leap into my throat. I spun around, breathless, nerves tingling. What was that? I peered around the corner to find a shadow racing past, a figure disappearing into the darkness of the adjoining room. My heart pounded. Could there be others here? Why did I feel like I was suddenly part of a game that I didn't understand? I took a deep breath, summoning my courage. The grandfather clock ticked ominously, each sound a reminder that time was slipping away, not just from the night, but from me. The answers felt just out of reach, tantalizingly close yet eternally distant. I knew I had to confront him, to demand the truth. But as I stepped forward, the air thickened with an unsettling tension. I paused, an unspeakable fear wrapping around me like a vice. What would I find if I dared to look? The thick silence stretched like an elastic band ready to snap. My pulse raced. Would uncovering the truth only lead to more questions, more entanglements? As I stood there, caught between the past and an uncertain future, I couldn't help but wonder, was my uncle the key to my freedom, or was he weaving a web that would trap me forever? My breath caught as I took tentative steps toward the room where the shadow had darted. The air felt electric, charged with an energy I couldn't explain. Each creak of the floorboards grew louder, echoing my mounting dread. The house creaked in response to my every move, as if protesting my approach. In the dim light, I reached for the doorknob, my fingers trembling. The metal was cold against my skin, a stark contrast to the warmth of the whiskey my uncle had been sipping just moments before. I hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down. What lurked beyond this door? Suddenly, I yanked it open, heart hammering in my chest. The room was empty, yet it smelled of something familiar and rotten. Old furniture tossed in disarray told stories of neglect, perhaps as forgotten as I felt. I stepped inside, peering into the shadows, every instinct screaming for me to turn back. But then I heard it. A soft sob, barely a whisper yet sharp enough to slice through the silence. It came from the corner of the room, a tattered curtain shifting slightly as if stirred by an unseen hand. My body froze, caught between flight and fight, torn by curiosity and a primal urge to escape. "Hello," I called, my voice sounding small and fragile. No answer, just that haunting sound. What was I stepping into? Cautiously, I wandered closer, parting the curtains with shaking hands. The slivers of moonlight illuminated a small figure huddled on the ground. My heart twisted. Was it possible? "Is it you?" I whispered, dropping to my knees. The racking sobs grew louder. Are you here?" As I drew closer, the figure lifted their head, revealing eyes bright with fear. It wasn't just a child. It was my little sister, the one I thought I'd lost ages ago in a time I'd chosen to forget. The reality snapped into focus. All the pain of ripped family ties, the dread of abandonment, flooded back with full force. "But why here? How? Help me," she cried, her voice choked with despair. "Yes, back." The words sent a cold shiver down my spine. My uncle? What had he done? Before I could process the weight of her plea, commotion erupted beyond the door. My uncle's laughter pierced the air, a chilling sound that made my skin crawl. It merged with the creaking of the mansion, forming a grotesque symphony of dread. In the back of my mind, I understood. He hadn't just returned for me, he had secrets buried within these walls that I was just beginning to uncover. "Stay quiet," I hissed, drawing my sister close. I had to protect her. I had to figure out a plan. We couldn't let him know we were together. From the depths of the house, the sound of footsteps grew louder, heavy and deliberate. My mind raced. He was searching for something or someone. The thought of him finding us, of what he might do, igniting every instinct within me. I glanced at my sister, seeing her trembling voice and wide eyes filled with fear. "We need to get out of here," I said firmly, allowing no room for doubt. Together we could escape this nightmare. But as we scrambled to move, I could hear him in the hall, his voice smooth and sinister. "I know you're in here. It's just a matter of time." Chill ran through me at his words, a sickening realization settling in. He had plans for us both. My heart raced. The mansion, once my refuge, had turned into a trap, and I was ready to risk everything to find the truth, to save my sister. But as I glanced back one last time, a thought hit me like a hammer. Was I stepping into a rescue or into a deeper snare he had set? The door creaked ominously behind me. Time was running out. The chase was on. And then it struck me. In this house of secrets, we weren't just running from him, something else was lurking. Something ancient and hungry. Where was it? What would happen when we found out? Panic twisted my gut as I slowly turned back to my sister. She remained crouched on the floor, and the shadows wrapped around her like the fingers of a ghost pressing down, urging her to stay. "We don't have time for this," I whispered fiercely, urgency pouring out of every word. "Where will we go?" She replied, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. "He knows this place, everything here is his." "No." I shook my head violently. The room felt smaller suddenly, as if the walls themselves were closing in on us. "We can't let him find us. We can figure something out. We have to move." But before I could grab her hand, an ear-splitting crash erupted from the hallway, echoing through the hollow corridors of the house. My heart leapt into my throat. It sounded as if he'd kicked down a door, his laughter now morphing into something maniacal, filled with the glee of a hunter pursuing its prey. Come out, wherever you are," he sang, taunting us. The malevolence in his voice slithered through the air, making my skin crawl. "Shoo!" I pressed a finger to my lips, watching her wide eyes dart nervously around the room, searching for an escape that seemed impossibly out of reach. I quickly scanned our surroundings for a hiding place. The old bed frame pushed up against the far wall looked like a potential refuge. I ushered my sister toward it, moving silently, though the pounding of my heart felt like thunder in my ears. She hesitated, glancing back at me, a question forming in her eyes. I nodded, urging her forward. As we slipped behind the bed, the shadows shielded us for the moment, but the air grew heavy, isolating us from the outside world. My sister's sobs echoed softly against the wall. I wanted to scream for her to be quiet, but the compassion in me won out, wrapping around her in an invisible embrace. The laughter grew louder, sing-song and taunting as he prowled the halls. You think you can hide from me? You think I don't know every inch of this place? Each word filled me with dread, like ice water running through my veins. I pressed my back against the wall, forcing myself to breathe steadily despite the hammering in my chest. Each inhale tasted bitter. Every exhale tethered me between fear and resolve. Suddenly, the footsteps paused right outside our door. A small beam of light flickered under the doorframe, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. It was him, waiting. My skin crawled. I couldn't place how he knew. No, my sister whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. He can't find us. We both held our breath as the door slowly creaked open, the light spilling inside like liquid fear. My heart threatened to burst as a menacing figure loomed in the aperture, framed by the hallway gloom. Then, just as quickly, he stepped back, his laughter cutting off abruptly, as if he heard something deeper, something that drew him away. Where are you, child? He called, suddenly more serious, sinister shadows twisting across his features. Do you think you can play hide and seek with me? Throbbing silence enveloped us as I exchanged frantic glances with my sister. The moment stretched, a taut string ready to snap. I dared to peek out from our hiding spot, desperate to know where he had gone. But then I saw it. Something moved across the darkened hallway behind him. Something that shouldn't have been there. A flicker of motion. A shape that staggered as if drawn from a long slumber. My blood turned cold. A new terror surged within me. I realized we weren't alone in this house after all. Something darker had awakened, and it was not just my uncle we had to fear. I pulled back, the weight of 1,000 chilling questions crowding my mind. What was that thing? What did it want? And just as I thought this, the world erupted in a cacophony of noises, echoes of something lurking, something ancient beginning to stir. In that moment of horror, I understood one thing: we had to escape. Before it was too late, before we were swallowed whole. What awaited us in the darkness? A choice was looming: risk everything to uncover the truth, or succumb to the nightmare. Which path would we take? My heart pounded furiously as that shadow moved again, slinking deeper into the murky hallway. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I was looking at. Was it a part of my imagination? A trick of the light? But no, a figure loomed, indistinct yet undeniably there. It was as if the darkness itself had taken a form we could not comprehend. Did you see that? I breathed, turning to my sister, who was now shaking uncontrollably. Her eyes were wide, filled with the horror of waking nightmares. She could hardly nod. I wanted to reach out and console her, but every second counted. We have to go, I urged, scanning the folds of the shadows for potential paths. Immediately, I discarded the door. It was a gateway to no return. The window, too small, too high. The vent? That could work, but time wasn't on our side. Laughter drifted back into the room, cruel and taunting, as if he could sense our hesitation. You're playing a dangerous game, he called, his voice echoing through the dim air. It sent chills racing down my spine. Suddenly, the shadow flickered again, closer this time. I struggled to focus. Was it human? I was reminded of how stories of the night would come alive in my imagination, merging horror with a longing thrill. But this was real. The din of malevolence was thick, and it invaded my senses. Let us check the closet, I whispered urgently, pointing to a large, darkened armoire against the wall. As we scrambled to our feet, my sister shot helpless glances at the door, the irrational hope that maybe he'd leave washing over her. Inside me, a tempest raged, a desperate need to act before the moment slipped away. We dashed to the closet, pushing aside heavy coats and memories that clung to the hangers like ghosts of safety. I listened, hearing his footsteps begin again, each one a countdown to our doom. Shoo! I shushed, placing a finger against my lips, as I closed the closet door. Darkness enveloped us instantly, stifling the light and any sound apart from my sister's shallow breaths. I could barely see her face, but I felt every tremble of her body as I ended that suffocating silence. The laughter echoed still, now mingled with a growl that crept into the space around us. And just like that, it dawned on me whatever loomed just behind that grotesque shadow was not just here because of my uncle. It belonged to him, a dark entity hidden within these walls of secrets. "What is happening?" My sister whimpered, her voice barely a whisper. I wanted to reassure her, but the truth was there, swallowed in the thick air around us. Skin prickled with fear, I blinked into the dark, trying to quell the anxious pounding of my heart thumping against my chest. "I don't know," I replied, forcing the words past my dry throat. "But we can't stay here." The growling intensified, like a predator starved for ages, its hunger insatiable. I risked another small glance out as the door rattled ominously. The laughter ceased, only to be replaced with heavy, dragging steps approaching the closet. "Where are you hiding?" His voice was feverish now, closer, full of malicious excitement. My stomach dropped as the door creaked just slightly, a gap opening wide enough for shadows to spill in. That S when I recognized it. The shadow wasn't human, it was something far worse. My breath hitched as fear gripped my heart. Whatever lived here long before us, whatever had stirred, it was no ordinary creature. The air crackled with static, our breaths mingling with the horror that awaited outside. How long before it found us? I dared not make a sound, grasping my sister's hand with a fierce resolve. I had to make a choice. Risk our only chance of escape or hold still, staunch in terror. But one thing was clear. To face the ominous horror outside, we needed more than mere moments of silence. We needed a plan, a desperate bid to uncover the truth of what had awakened in this hell. With a swift decision, I whispered, "When I say go, we run." But I could feel the weight of darkness, heavy and hungry, wrapping around us. Was the outside really the path to freedom? Or were we embracing a nightmare even greater than the one lurking in the dark? Before I could ponder further, an unexpected sound shattered the silence, a quiet whimpering that didn't belong to us, that echoed from beyond the shadows. Who else was here? What else was coming for us? The broken whimper pierced through the thick, oppressive silence. It hung in the air like a dark omen, settling disconcertingly between my sister and me. I felt her grip tighten around my hand, our fear coiling into a single, common heartbeat. Who could it be? Surely, we weren't the only ones trapped in this prison of shadows. "Stay quiet," I whispered urgently, peering into the growing darkness outside the closet. I wished for even a sliver of light to guide my gaze, but all there was lay in the realm of the unknown. The faint, sorrowful sound came again, drawing my attention back to the source. Help me," the voice trembled, youthful yet laced with aged despair. It echoed like a lingering memory, stirring a strange mix of dread and compassion deep in my gut. "Who are you?" I called softly, my voice barely above a murmur. The growling had ceased, but a suffocating stillness took its place, punctuated only by that repeated whimper. "Please, I don't want to stay with him." My heart sank. It was another child. My stomach twisted at the thought of what this place could do to someone so vulnerable. The urgency became overpowering. "Can you escape?" I tried again, hoping my words could reach the child behind the darkness. "Yes, but I can't find the way." A chill shot up my spine. How long had they been here? I opened my mouth to ask further, but the flickering shadow emerged abruptly, an eddy in the air, taking form at the edge of our door. Something malevolent lurked there, just out of sight, waiting for a moment of weakness. "Go," I hissed to my sister. "On my count." In the mounting suspense, I could feel the very essence of time stretching, bending like taut wire about to snap. I leveled my eyes on the door, willing the figure to come closer with panic-stricken determination. 3-2 before I could say 1. Something crashed against the closet door. It jolted us violently, the sound reverberating through the enclosed space like thunder. Every part of me urged me to scramble away, but I leaned back against the wall, breathing through the panic. I couldn't let it trap us alone. The growling returned, low and rumbling, a sound that sent fresh waves of terror coursing through my veins. "Where are you?" it taunted, the voice crawling under my skin, filling my head with dread. "Help!" The childish voice rose, tinged with panic. Ignoring the looming darkness, I grabbed the handle, and the latch clicked and squealed as I swung the door open. My heart raced violently as blinding, sickly green light flooded inside. However, what lingered in the shadows did not belong to the light. It was the very darkness that birthed fears and nightmares. "Run!" I shouted, propelling my sister out first while I took a deep breath, scanning the room. The corridor stretched endlessly, but there the glint of something metallic caught my eye. I edged forward, not breaking my gaze from the grotesque shadow just beyond the walls. "Help!" The child's whimper reached a new octave, swelling like a wave crashing against stone. I turned back to see a shrouded figure inching closer, its form expanding and shifting into something grotesque. "Get out of here!" I yelled, a surge of protective fury igniting inside of me. I could not let this darkness consume another child. The door to the closet trembled again, and I felt the weight of the shadow pressing on the other side, clawing to break through. Part of me begged to abandon my plan, to place my survival above all else, but another part, the one that longed for justice and longed for liberation, held firm. "Come on," I urged, taking my sister's arm and pulling her toward the light. But just as we reached the threshold, the air thickened, gripping tight around our throats as a voice whispered harshly in our ears. "You can never escape me." The intensity of the moment nearly crushed me, but my resolve strengthened. We had to move. I ushered my sister past the threshold, forcing myself to step into whatever awaited us out there. But as we fled down the corridor, the darkness roared behind us. What had we awakened? What other horrors lay in wait for us just beyond the threshold? It became painfully clear. We had to confront whatever lingered in that darkness before it caught up to us. The sounds of our footsteps echoed against the dank walls, each hurried step filled with a sense of desperation. The corridor closed in around us, twisting and turning, choking the breath from my lungs. My heart thundered in my chest, drowned by the haunting growls and the unmistakable whispers of dread that lingered in the shadows behind us. "Where do we go?" my sister gasped, her voice trembling, close to breaking. It took every ounce of courage not to look back. I knew if I did, fear would swallow me whole. We had just crossed the threshold of that cursed door, yet the shadow loomed behind us like a storm waiting to unleash its fury. "Keep running," I urged, glancing here and there for any sign of an escape. Despair flared deep in my gut as I caught the glimmer of metallic objects scattered along the floor: a broken watch, a tarnished keychain, and something else that shimmered ominously. Without warning, the glint of a knife caught my eye, its edge reflecting what little light filtered through the corridor. "Look," I pointed, my voice shaky but fierce. "We can use that." My sister hesitated only a moment before skidding to grab the knife, her fingers trembling around the handle. We pressed forward, our instincts screaming for us to find a way out. I suddenly felt the air shift, as if someone had stepped out of that suffocating darkness. "Keep going," I shouted, a surge of adrenaline pushing me onward. But just as I turned, the shrouded figure lunged forward, its fingers clawing desperate air. A flash of recognition fired through me, a fleeting image of that child's terrified face behind the closet door, trapped, pleading for help. Maybe it wasn't too late. "Wait," I cried, my breath catching. My sister stopped reluctantly, fear sitting heavy in her eyes as the darkness coiled around us. It was then that I realized what we had to do. Turning to face the shadows head-on, I gripped my sister's arm tightly and took a step back toward the figure. "What do you want?" I shouted into the void, my voice resolute. "You don't have to hurt us." A low, rumbling laugh slithered through the air, the sound sharp as glass. "Oh, but that is the point." The figure began to morph into the shape of a gaunt, hollow-eyed creature, its smile devoid of warmth. "Pain is how I thrive. Do you think by showing pity you can save him?" I steeled myself against a wave of nausea. "I can't just leave him." "Leave him?" You should be afraid to even touch him. The child is just bait a trap. My sister tugged on my arm, panic bubbling in her voice. We should go, please, we have to get out of here. Not until we confront this thing. I insisted, desperation edging my words, searching for a way to intertwine my will with the darkness around us. What do you want from us? A deep silence fell, surrounding us like a thick fog, my heart racing as the creature straightened itself, stepping into the faint light. In that moment, I was struck by its depthless gaze, filled with both rage and something more. It leaned forward, its voice a sensuous whisper that danced around us. I want to share the darkness with you. Will you join me? A surge of dread coursed through me. The air crackled with potential, and I felt my resolve weaken under its gaze. Was this truly what we faced, a seductive power offering freedom at a price? What if I refuse? I challenged, my fingers tightening around the knife, ready for whatever would come next. Then you will witness what happens to those who are left behind. The wall shuddered, as if answering back to the creature's words. And I could feel the shadows gathering, hungry and eager to consume anything standing in their way. My sister pulled me back slightly, breaking the trance. We can't stay here. We have to go now. But before I could pull her with me, the lights flickered violently as the growling deepened into a horrifying roar, resonating through the hallway like an earthquake. Face your fears or you will be swallowed whole. It screamed. We scrambled backward, feeling the pull of the darkness tightening around us, inch by inch, dragging us closer. To that desperate point of no return that I could feel my throat constricting, panic clawing at my insides. Would I really have to face this horror alone? Let us go, I shouted just as the first whispers ignited towards the child, lost somewhere in the bowels of this twisted abyss. But as I turned to pull my sister away, I caught the faintest glimpse of something in the distance. A flicker of light, shining defiantly against the encroaching darkness. Could that lead us out? Or would it lead us into something worse? Come on, I yelled, pulling my sister toward the light, my heart pounding with each hurried step. The flicker was small but undeniable, and it fed a flicker of hope that burned deep in my chest. Do you see it? She whispered, disbelief evident in her voice. I nodded, my grip tight around her wrist. There was no time to question it. We had to move, to break free from the creature's grasp before it suffocated us with its darkness. The shadows writhed around us, desperate to ensnare our ankles, but each step toward the light felt like breaking free from a weight dragging us down. I forced myself not to look back at the figure slowly following, its presence a chill that settled in the small of my back like icy fingers. Just a little further, I urged, adrenaline surging through me. The light grew brighter, taking on a warm hue that felt almost comforting, contrasting the cold, suffocating grip of the darkness. As we darted closer, the light revealed a door, slightly ajar and glowing with an almost ethereal radiance. There had to be safety beyond it. Hope unfolded among the fear, but as we reached the threshold, an ominous whisper curled around us like smoke. Do you really think you can escape? The creature's voice slithered through the air, wrapping around my throat. You may run, but you cannot hide from your fears. With a surge of defiance, I pulled my sister toward the door, her footsteps faltering. Stay with me, I said, feeling her resistance. We'll get out, I promise. She hesitated, fear dancing in her eyes. What if it's a trap? We can't just blindly leap into the light without knowing. Before I could answer, shadows surged at us like a tidal wave, pushing against my back, nearly forcing me through the door. I turned to face my sister, desperation echoing in my voice. Do you want to stay here? You know we can't let it take us. Think of the child. Her eyes widened, toppled memories of that face, lost and pleading, intertwined with my own desperate resolve. You're right, she breathed, the fight rising back within her. We can't let it win. With one last push, we flung ourselves into the light just as the thunderous roar crescendoed behind us. The moment we crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut, sealing the darkness on the other side with a finality that resonated through my bones. We stumbled into a room bathed in soft luminosity, filled with unfamiliar light fixtures and dusty relics that had long been forgotten. For a heartbeat, we gathered our breath, relief washing over us like cool water. But then the air shifted again, and unease crept back in. "Where are we?" my sister murmured, scanning the walls adorned with faded photographs and the remnants of laughter that lingered in the air. The glow was bright, yet there was something off about it, almost too bright. Like the calm before a storm, a flicker of movement caught my eye. In the corner, an old armchair sat, shadows flickering around it despite the light. I approached cautiously, instinctively sensing the weight of history draped across its fabric, and there, stitched into the surface like a cruel surprise, was a life-size doll, its eyes impossibly lifelike, staring blankly into the distance. Dressed eerily similar to the child we saw, the doll's smile curled in a mocking gesture. But what sent icy shivers up my spine was the small silver pendant hanging from its neck. "That's the same pendant," I gasped, reaching for it as a chilling realization settled in. "It belonged to the child. What does this mean?" Before my sister could answer, the air crackled, and that familiar voice echoed from the shadows of the armchair, weaving through the light with an unsettling familiarity. "Did you really think running would save you? You're still part of my game." My heart dropped as fear clawed at my throat. The shadows were weaving their way back in, coiling around us like serpents, and I grasped the knife tightly. "What do you want from us?" I shouted, but the response was a soft laughter, chilling as it sent shudders down my spine. "Everything. I want everything." In that moment I felt the weight of choices pressing down on me. What would it take to end this nightmare? And as the shadows danced around us, I realized one frightening truth. I was far from the only pawn in this twisted game. With dread building within, I turned and locked eyes with my sister, both of us knowing this battle was far from over. But what new horrors awaited us beyond that laugh? Would we ever truly escape? The room pulsed with an unseen energy, every corner crawling with tension. The shadows whispered, swirling around our feet, hungry to consume our very essence. My grip tightened on the handle of the knife, the metal cold against my palm, a flimsy barrier between us and that insidious laughter. My sister stood frozen by my side, terror etched on her face as the voice continued its mocking cadence. "Do you feel it? The weight of your past? You brought this upon yourselves." "What do you mean?" I yelled, struggling to keep my voice steady. "What past? We've done nothing." However, all of my defiance felt hollow against the presence bearing down on us. The laughter grew more sinister, resonating off the faded photographs that adorned the walls. Faces I didn't recognize grinned down at us, frozen in moments long gone, their joy contrasting sharply with our dread. "You hold the key," it whispered, and a chill swept through the air, sending goosebumps along my arms. "The child, you cherish her memory, but what are you willing to sacrifice to save her?" Each word dripped with malice, pulling at the threads of my heart. Memories flooded in, the childish face dancing before my eyes like a flickering candle. She wasn't just a ghost from the past. She was a living part of my present, and I couldn't let her down. "No," I shouted, voice breaking as anger swelled in my chest. "We're not playing your game. Whatever twisted web you've spun, we won't be caught in it." The shadows hissed, retreating momentarily as if stung by my words. In that brief reprieve, I turned to my sister, frantically searching her eyes for strength too. "We need to find a way out, together." But she was staring at the doll, her expression fading into something more contemplative. What if it's true?" she said quietly, her voice trembling. "What if we're meant to confront whatever this is? To face our fears instead of running?" "No," I nearly shouted, the panic rising again. "We can't give in. We can't let it manipulate our thoughts." Yet deep down, a gnawing fear began to take root. What if confronting the darkness was the only way to truly escape it? But what price would we have to pay? As if sensing the turmoil within us, the laughter returned with a vengeance. "Your choice looms near. One will face the darkness while the other remains in the light. Will you save yourself or your sister?" The shadows coiled tighter, threatening to encase us both as dread threatened to obliterate every rational thought. The weight of the choice pressed like a stone upon my chest, and suddenly, the room felt claustrophobic. The walls closing in, a flicker of something moved behind the doll. A ghost of motion that pulled at my attention. My heart raced as I realized it was another child's face. Just a glimpse reflected in the glass of an antique frame, a vision of innocence that sent a fresh wave of fear crashing over me. Is that her? Is that the child? My sister's whisper shook the air like a fragile leaf trembling on the brink of falling. Maybe it's a trick, I stammered, turning to the shadows weaving again with renewed urgency. What do you want from us? Just tell us. No more riddles. Only truths. The voice slithered around us, suffocating and real. Make your choice or the darkness will choose for you. A gasp escaped my sister, and I felt the panic rise, twining around my throat, as I glanced back at her. I was losing control, the creeping fear threatening to pull us under. Was this truly the moment we had to decide? To wade deeper into the unknown? Or to remain here, tethered to a past that could drown us? And in that moment of uncertainty, the world around us shifted again, drawing closer to a precipice. Time is slipping away. Will you step forward, or be swallowed whole? As the shadows began to tug at my very core, the weight of the decision bore down on me. Just as I contemplated the unthinkable, a loud crack erupted from behind us. What now waited in the folds of darkness? The question hung in the air, as we braced ourselves for whatever would come next. The crack echoed, splintering the tense silence like a gunshot. My heart pounded in my ears as I turned to see what had caused it. The doll, seemingly innocent moments ago, now lay shattered on the floor, wooden fragments scattered like broken dreams. The vibrant colors of its dress dulled, blending with the dust beneath our feet. Did you see that? My sister's voice trembled. It broke on its own. I don't care, I snapped, instinctually placing myself between her and the remnants of the doll. We have to keep moving. But moving where? The question echoed in my mind, a deafening reminder of our entrapment. The shadows seemed to pulse, alive with malevolent intent, creeping closer. I clutched the knife tightly, my knuckles white, willing it to be more than a simple weapon, a lifeline. Then, everything shifted again. The energy in the room morphed, flickering like a faulty light bulb, revealing more of the photos. Faces once obscured became clearer, a swirling history of sorrow and joy, both enthralling and grotesque. Each image felt like a hook digging deeper into my psyche. Look at them, my sister whispered, her breath catching. They all seemed so familiar. And they did. The blurry contours of faces touched something deep within me. A nagging worry curled in my chest as reality distorted, blending fragments of memories I struggled to place. Who were they? Was the child they clung to in their happy snapshots my daughter? My sister's voice pulled me back to the present. Why is it so dark? We need light. She reached for the wall, and my instincts screamed a warning. Don't touch anything. But it was too late. A flicker flared as her fingers brushed against an object at the wall's surface. The shadows rippled violently, and the air turned icy. A staircase emerged, twisting downward into a void swirling with smoke. No, I panicked, stepping back, but it was as if the darkness itself beckoned her. We can't go down there. It's the only way, she insisted quietly, her eyes wide but determined. This is our challenge. We can't turn our backs on it. Suddenly, the whispers transformed into shrieks that clawed at my mind. Face your past. Face the darkness. Embrace the choice. Each phrase struck like a blade, churning my stomach. Panic coursed through me, sapping my strength. I felt my resolve fracture. What if it's all just a trap? What if we go down there and never come back out? Then we'll go together, she said fiercely, stepping closer to the ominous opening. The flickering shadows danced in response as her voice steadied my nerves, if only briefly. Together, I breathed, although uncertainty gnawed at me, relentless. I glanced back at the haunted portraits lining the walls, their eyes filled with longing, despair, and judgment. Were they urging us forward or warning us against what lay ahead? As we approached the darkened staircase, the weight of the choice seeped back into me. Would we uncover what we truly feared, Or would our search lead to the very end? Without realizing it, my hand slipped, and the knife fell from my grasp, clattering on the wooden floor. The sound echoed like a final decision, resonating through the stifled air. My sister's expression shifted, a flicker of resolve in her eyes as she grasped my arm. We have to know. We have to see what's down there. A sudden rush of cold air swept through shivers pinpricked my skin as if the darkness anticipated our descent. In that moment, with my heart thudding like a war drum, the shadows surged and tightened around us. The atmosphere grew more oppressive, a tangible force that demanded an answer. Together, I echoed uncertainly, and step by cautious step, we began our descent into the all-consuming darkness. But as we reached the foot of the staircase, a heavy thud reverberated behind us, sealing our fate. What awaited us at the bottom of that staircase? A low growl echoed, a promise of something sinister lurking just beyond the threshold. Would we be the hunters or the hunted in this lingering nightmare? The darkness closed in as they stepped off the final stair, a chilling wave engulfing them like a heavy fog. Shadows danced erratically, whispering secrets only the damned could understand. My sister's hand trembled in mine, our breaths mingling with the oppressive silence. There was no going back now. Stay close, I whispered, the pulse of fear coursing through my veins. The light from the staircase flickered, growing dimmer as if the very air sought to extinguish it. I steeled myself, willing courage into my heart. Whatever lay ahead, I would protect her. Even if it cost me everything. A faint glimmer caught my eye, not the comforting shimmer of potential escape, but something far more sinister. An ornate mirror sat against the far wall, its glass tarnished and obscured. But within its depths, movement flickered and coiled like smoke. What is that? My sister breathed, wide-eyed. Stay back, I ordered, inching forward against the tide of dread that surged beneath my skin. The shape in the mirror became clearer. A twisted version of my face, distorted with malevolence and a mocking grin. The sight sent chills racing down my spine. Each reflection echoed with malignancy my fears laid bare. Face your truth, it taunted, voice oozing from the depths. You can't hide from what you truly are. Shut up, I yelled, taking an instinctive step back. My heart raced as a wave of memories flooded my mind. Anxiety, loneliness, the fear of abandonment. I could feel the weight of every regret crashing over me like a tidal wave, and I struggled to breathe under it. Your dark secrets will consume you, the mirror hissed. But what of your sister? Will you sacrifice her to save yourself? Never, I shouted back, anger rising like a flame. Reasserting control, I gripped the wall for support, grounding myself. Turning away from the malice that threatened to unearth my deepest fears, I felt the shadows pulsing, eager to consume us both. But my sister approached the mirror, hesitance in her gaze. What if it speaks the truth? She asked, voice shaky but resonant. No, don't listen, pleaded. It wants to draw you in. Yet the shadows twisted at our feet, urging her closer to the reflection. Maybe I need to face it to confront the truth of what this place is. She whispered, determined yet terrified. Don't. Panic gripped my heart. I could feel the suffocating weight of the house, its walls alive with hungry echoes that begged us to succumb. With a final effort, I lunged forward, grabbing her arm. We have to escape this. My voice broke around the edges, desperation lacing each word. Together, but the shadows whispered sweet nothings, the figures within the mirror contorting, mocking our fight. Give in to your fears. Make the choice to end this torment, they taunted, fingers stretching toward us. No, we were not brought here to drown in this darkness. With a primal scream, I hurled my body against the mirror, feeling its cold surface ripple beneath my touch. We'll break this curse. You have no power over us. At my urging, the world around us shifted. The whispers grew louder, crescendoing into a cacophony of anguish that pressed against my ears. The mirror cracked, letter by letter spelling out the darkness we had faced. In that moment, I saw it, a glimmer of hope hidden within the cracks. It was the face of the lost child we had glimpsed before, calling out through the darkness. Help me, cried, resonating within me and pulling at my very core. We must help them, my sister shouted, her own determination sparking anew. The mirror splintered further, fracturing our fears with every ounce of our courage. Together, I was shouting now, the fire rising within us illuminating a narrow path through the darkness. We weren't just wading through our own fears. We were finding strength through the bond we shared, the blood and dreams that intertwined us. With a final push, we thrust our hands into the mirror, straight into the fractured reality that beckoned. The glass shattered into a million tiny pieces, refracting our combined light as we shattered the whole darkness had over us. Come on, I urged, pulling her closer as shadows screamed in protest. But the connection was stronger, propelling us forward toward the flicker of freedom. We burst through the void, landing in a white light that washed away the remnants of fear, despair stripping from our souls like an old skin. It felt like rebirth, a release powerful enough to cleanse the horror we had faced. Gasping, we collapsed on a grassy hill under an endless sky, the dreaming sun warming our skin. The mansion and its horrors banished behind us. I looked at my sister, fierce and alive, and I knew then that we had escaped not just the darkness but our past too. Yes, I breathed, filled with newfound hope. We did it, together. As our laughter mixed with the wind, I knew we were free. The shadows were behind us, lost in a world we would never return to. A wave of peace cascaded through my chest, knowing no evil could break the bond we shared. And as the sun began to set, painting the horizon with warm golden hues, we took a deep breath, ready for whatever life had in store for us next. You need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive stories just like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Don't wait even one more second to share this video. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Plus, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.